like America's huge, so at least where I'm from, you would never see an older lady riding a sled, to get to the store. But that was just common in Finland. Really, the Finnish people don't own a lot of cars. Like mostly they ride bikes, and I loved that. Like everybody out riding bikes, through their market square. That was the other difference. Like here, we might have a downtown area in a city, but they have a downtown market, like a gathering, like a center area of their town where everybody comes together and they sell their farmers, what the farmers grow, or it's just a gathering place in the center of the city, which I think is amazing because we've kind of lost that community and culture here a little bit in America. I think in America everybody tries to get like the biggest and best house that they can, and in Finland they just owned their apartments or like condos, just smaller. They had smaller living, and I liked that they lived like that. I feel like it was just easier maybe to live that way than to try to just constantly give your life for the biggest and best house you could get. They had like their small city living, but then they would have like a small cabin at the lake for the summer and for getting away from their small space that they lived in the city. And I thought it was just a beautiful setting too, with the way their housing was set up and their streets and the trees, and it just seemed like you could take a picture and just put it on a poster, like the country's beautiful, the lakes everywhere. Oh, school had a big impact on me because I loved my public school experience, but now I homeschool all of my kids, and I have from the beginning, and I think that idea was just kind of a seed was planted for me because I learned in Finland they said that they don't start their kids until age 8, and they feel like their kids should just stay home and learn values, and then at age 8 they go to school, and they don't overburden their kids. They actually don't do homework there. They do their school work at school, and they get to go home and live their life. So I love their school system. They have actually tested out to be like the smartest kids in the world. And I think because they have the freedom to play and explore, and they're not burdened with this extra task of 12 hours a day of schoolwork, So that was amazing. That really impacted me. I also love that they are health conscious. What was really exciting for me back then was that we could swim in our mission. And we were, I think, maybe the only mission where we could jump in the water and swim and have like a 8-stroke limit just to get out. That just kept us on task. Like we're just jumping in and getting out instead of like we're out here swimming. And the Finns like to do a weekly sauna where they get in the hot sauna and sweat out their toxins, and then they jump in the cold pool or the lake, or they cut a hole in the ice and jump into the lake through the ice. I did have a crazy experience with that because we went to a member of our branch. We went to their cabin at the lake, and we all got in the it was several of us, several missionaries, so females and males, and we were taking turns getting hot in the sauna and just sweating, and then we were going to the lake to jump in. And when I looked at the lake, it looked to me like slush, but the top of the ice was just dimpled. So it was spring, so the ice was melting back, and so it looked slushy to me. So I jumped at the ice, and it was about 8 inches thick, and I had blood I just scraped my whole body down one side. And so I have pictures on my mission in my swimsuit, blood dripping everywhere, and that was not fun. I was kind of in shock after that experience, but
so you just like jumped on the ice?
I jumped towards it, yeah, and I hit the edge of it and just scraped all the way down. So yeah, that was painful, and I thought, I will never do that polar plunge again for the rest of my life. I just went into shock. I'm sure people do it all the time, and they do it for, heart health, and they would take branches and beat each other's backs in the sauna so that it brings the blood flow to the surface. And I love that they are health conscious in that way. Everybody in America should have a sauna in their house. It's my opinion. I don't know if they have these old washing machines now that we had back then, but we would wash our clothes in the washing machine, and then we had to stand up on blocks and open the door and drain it out the front of the washing machine, and then spin it, and then hang our clothes to dry. It just felt very rustic. I'm sure it's probably all been updated since then, but we called that washing machine the Beast because it was just quite a process every time we had to do laundry. And then I thought it was one thing that just really caught my attention when we got there is they didn't have handles on their front doors. So they just had like a kind of a deadbolt lock with these really strong keys, and you push that in and just turn it, and that opens your door. I don't know, that's just one of those memories that I thought, wow, that's so interesting, because people could take a handle and they could take it off and they could pick that lock and they could enter your home, but you never could with the way their doors are set up there. Just one interesting observation. The only, what I would say, experience that I didn't like was on the longest day of the year. They really celebrate, and there was one time when they were really celebrating and drinking, and I just saw broken glass everywhere and moaning in the city, and just that sound, I was just like, wow, I'm not sure I like that holiday. But then the next year we had Juhannus Eve, which is the longest day of the year, and that one was a really cool experience because our whole branch went to a lodge, and they all camped at this lodge, and we were able to get up on the top of a shed and see the sun, the midnight sun. We saw the sun never set, it just stayed on the horizon, and get pictures of that, and that was so cool. Oh, and of course the aurora borealis, the green lights in the sky were just beautiful, just stunning. I also loved going up to Rovaniemi, which is up north. Usually missionaries can't leave their area, so for me to be able to go do all these adventures on my mission is not a common experience. But for some reason, because I was with these people for so long, our mission president allowed me to leave my area in Oulu and go up to Rovaniemi and go to Santa Claus Village. And it's just a village where the post office is just for letters to Santa, and you get to ride his sled and see the reindeer, and it was just such a magical place that you can't even believe that it exists. It's so amazing up there. So that was a really cool experience in Finland. I feel like in America we've just kind of lost some of our history and our arts. Like some people keep it alive with their crafts or their culture, maybe Native American culture, but in Finland, when you go to those markets that I mentioned, they sell like their handicrafts, and I just thought, I love to see that those things are still alive and well, and their culture is just, I think, important to them to keep those things going and to make things. And mostly for me it was the Christmas things that I loved. Like every year I put these ornaments on my tree that I bought at one of those markets, and they're like little tiny Finnish children that are made out of hay with these cute little elf hats. The children put on elf hats every Christmas, and all these memories are coming back. How amazing it is there. I loved it so much. I think that what I admired most about Finns, at least from my perspective, was that they lived a beautifully simple life, and they were just content, and I love that. I sometimes don't like the crazy rat race of America, and I didn't feel that there. I just felt like I would love seeing like older ladies just pushing their sleds through the snow, and they didn't ever have a car, and they just lived this simple life, and I just admired that about them. Finns felt like fiercely loyal, like they become your friend, they're your friend forever. And they were so generous once you got to know them, and they invited you into their home. Like one particular friend in Finland just fed us once a week, every week, and she just loved to have us over and cook meals for us, and we became so close. They were just so kind. And I think that culturally, what I loved the most was that they just kind of left each other alone. I felt like there wasn't a lot of crime there because they weren't in each other's business, like bothering each other, or harming each other, wanting to steal from each other. They didn't have the crimes that I had left behind in good old America, like we would ride our bikes to the store, and we would pull up and we'd put our backpacks on the back of our bikes, and we would go in and shop. And of course our backpacks and everything in it would still be there and untouched when we were done. And it surprised me to see like carriages with babies out front in the store. Like they felt like their babies all bundled up with just their little face showing and breathing in that fresh Finnish air. They needed to be out in the fresh air, breathing cold air, and that was healthy for their babies. So they left them out front while they shopped in the store. And of course the babies were still there when they were done, and they would sometimes have like a beanbag on their front porch, and they would bundle their baby up for nap time and put their baby on their front porch. I just thought that you would never see that in America, never. So that was really a huge difference in culture. I never really saw crime. I just thought that was just so amazing that I could feel so safe there. I think my favorite Finnish food was probably the makara sausage that was cut up and on top of fries with mustard over it. I thought that was just so good. I love fries, and makara sausage was good. And I loved their sweetbreads that are made with cardamom. I love their omena piraka. They have like potatoes and apples that are like in like a pastry, and the edges are folded over and baked. That was really good. And then I just loved meatballs and potatoes, the basics. They did drink mead, which was like a homemade, like fermented drink that had raisins in it. That was very good. I just like their juices. The things that stood out to me about food was that they didn't have things that I had back at home. Like you couldn't go to the store and buy burrito shells or tortillas or taco shells and make tacos. At least back then. I'm sure they do now. And then when we ate pizza, the pizza crust would be really thin, and it would most likely have just tuna fish on it. Red sauce and tuna fish. The makara, they put it on French fries, but they also love to just put makara on a stick and just cook it over a campfire at the maki, like the lake house. And so everybody had a lake house, it seemed like, and so we did do a lot of adventures, visiting with close friends, and we'd go to their lake house and cook makara over a fire. My first impression when I went to Finland, it was funny and interesting for me because I lived in Portland, Oregon, and I felt like everyone was friendly in Portland, Oregon, and if you caught their eye as you passed on the sidewalk, everybody would say hi to each other, and that was not the case in Finland. I learned quickly that if I said hi to somebody excitedly, they stopped and they just were thinking really hard, like, where do I know you from? And they taught me basically that we don't do that. We don't just say hi to everyone we pass. We engage with people that we already know, like either an acquaintance. So they're not antisocial. It was just completely different. I was just super excited to be there and kind of maybe a little over the top with my hi. I just felt peace there. I felt like it was a really calm, peaceful, maybe because I arrived in winter, so with the soft snow falling, it just felt like that winter hush that was just so beautiful. And I know that some people didn't really like that it was dark for most of the day. That didn't bother me. It was kind of just a new and interesting experience, and I didn't get depressed from darkness. I just thought it was so cool that it was just dark almost 24 hours a day in December, when we arrived. So that was just very unique and different from anything I'd experienced before. I arrived in December of 1992. The most interesting thing about Finnish to me was that everyone thinks Finnish is so hard. But the Finnish people say, you know what, it's actually the easiest language to learn for Finnish children because there's not like crazy rules. Yes, they have a lot of conjunctions and add-ons to the end of words. Like a word can become extremely long, but you say every single letter. And like in English, we teach kids like, oh, that letter's silent, and oh, that combination sounds like an F. There's nothing like that in Finnish. The sound sounds like the sound, and you say every single sound. So it's actually probably the easiest language to learn, even though it may be the hardest for a foreigner to learn. So that was very interesting to me. The one thing that missionaries say the most, when they go on their mission is, all we did was knock on doors. We didn't have the internet back then to use as another tool for contacting people. So we just knocked on doors, and when they opened the doors, we would always say, we are from the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. And if I was going to say that in my worst American accent, it would probably be me olla me Jeesuksen Kristuksen. Wait, me olla me myöhempien aikojen Jeesuksen Kristuksen kirkosta. Like if they can't roll their R's, or they're just saying it slow, I don't know. And also, the Finnish people don't always use the first part of that, which would be me. They just leave that off because the MME at the end of ole me, that means you are saying that first part. So if I were going to say the best that I could, it would be ole me myöhempien aikojen Jeesuksen Kristuksen kirkosta.
Cool.
It's been like 30 years and almost. Well, it has been a very long time since I've been to Finland, and I feel like I left a piece of my heart there. I just loved every single minute of my time in Finland. I loved the people. I loved the people that I met. I loved the people I didn't meet. I loved the Hiltunen family, which were kind of spread all over. They were somewhere in Helsinki, and I just felt like they did more for missionary work in that country and sharing the gospel of Jesus Christ than anyone I've ever met. And they were just such good people. All the Finnish people I met just were so wonderful, and I never had any bad experiences there. And I have thought recently, I wish I could go back again and just do missionary work and share the gospel of Jesus Christ again in the country. And what would I say? And what would I say to people if I couldn't go back? I think that, Finns live a beautifully simple life in their own just amazing way. And if they are content and not really seeking for learning more from Heavenly Father about His gospel, but maybe they wanted to pray and ask, like, what one gift, God, would you send me? I think that gift might be in the form of 2 missionaries that have a message for you. And, that being able to go to your country and share that message with so many people was such a gift for me, and I would love to give that gift back again. It's been fun just to think about the Finnish people and the beauty of the area of the world that they live in, and that's such a blessing for them, and that they don't take it for granted. They just love it. They love where they live, and they love their lakes, and they love their communities, and they love their families. I just love that I took that away, when I took a piece of Finland back with me. I think going to Finland changed my life, because I would have never considered homeschool for my kids. And I think because I lived in Finland and saw the quality of their education, and that they value their children learning values at a young age, was so huge for me. So I went there to give something, but I got so much in return.